Hello, welcome to your English class. I'm teacher Lisa, and today we're going to be learning about Unit 7 of the B1 plus level. So let's just start. We're going to be talking about holidays and traditions, okay? To wish someone to have a good holiday, talk about local customs in some areas, exchange and talk about information about holidays in general, okay? We're gonna overview also vocabulary about wedding traditions. So let's start here. It says Japan, people picnicking and viewing the cherry blossoms at a Hanami party in Japan. United States, for example, they have Thanksgiving dinner in the United States featuring the traditional main dish of roast turkey. In Mexico, friends who have come together for quinceañera to celebrate a girl's 15th birthday and her entry into adulthood in Mexico, which is true. Korea, a couple dressed in the traditional hanbok during the Korean holiday of Chuseok. Finally, we have Brazil, dancers in the fantastic costumes of Brazil's world-famous yearly celebration of Carnival, right? So these are some famous and important holidays in these countries, okay? So we're going to go again over a conversation related to this. We have Basma and Micha. So it says, "Well, that dress your sister's wearing is gorgeous. What was the occasion?" Well, that was for Chuseok. The dress is called a hanbok. Did you say Chuseok? What's that? A holiday? That's right. It's a traditional Korean holiday. It takes place in September or October each year to celebrate the harvest. So, does everyone dress up like that? Some people do. So, what else does everyone do on Chuseok? We get together with our relatives and we eat a lot. Well, that sounds nice. Not only that, but we go to our hometowns and visit the graves of our ancestors. So I suppose the airports and train stations are mobbed with people, right? Totally. And the traffic is impossible. It takes hours to get anywhere. I think every country's got at least one holiday like that. What holiday comes to mind for you? It reminds me of Eid al-Adha, a 4-day religious holiday we celebrate where I come from. In what way? Well, people put on their best clothes and we eat a ton of great food. We also travel to be with our relatives and visit the graves of our loved ones who have died. How about that? Sounds just like our holiday. Sounds just like our holiday. We have some expressions here that we're going to go over. For example, we have the expression sounds just like, suena justo como algo. It reminds me of, me recuerda a algo. It reminds me of. And we also have the expression, the stations, the airport are mobbed, crowded, full of people, okay? I think that's what I would point out here. Yeah, I think that's what I would. So remember, they are talking about holidays in different places or countries, right? Let's check this other conversation model. I heard there's going to be a holiday next week. That's right, the Harvest Moon Festival. Harvest, the word harvest, ¿qué es harvest? Significa cosecha, ¿sí? Está relacionado a las cosechas, a los cultivos. What kind of holiday is it? It's a seasonal holiday that takes place in autumn. People spend time with their families and eat mooncakes. Well, have a great Harvest Moon Festival. Thanks, same to you. So harvest, I repeat, is like el cultivo, la cosecha. And seasonal holiday es porque esta fiesta se lleva a cabo cada determinada estación. Aquí es importante recalcar que holiday, yes, it can mean vacations, but it's also related to a certain specific celebration of something, okay? And here we have types of holidays. Seasonal, because in this case it's the harvest. Historical, like Mexico's Independence Day. Religious, like maybe in Mexico we have December 12th, that's religious as well, right? And we have some vocabulary to talk about the ways to commemorate a holiday. Set up fireworks, marching parades. Parade, the word parade is desfile. So with the verb march in parades, have picnics, pray, send cards, give gifts or presents, wish each other well, remember the dead, and wear costumes. So here we have some verbs to talk about celebrating or commemorating holidays. In the previous reading, we also saw the word relatives. Remember, relatives are like the long-standing family. It's not only your family, it's not only your mom, your dad, your sisters, or your husband and wife. It's also the aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins, all right? Like the whole family, extended family. And they say that they also like to go and visit their ancestors, or they also say loved ones, their loved ones, okay? A sus seres amados. So, we're going to be talking about who and that. Esto es algo que se usa muchísimo en el idioma inglés. So remember, we're going to go over the grammar here, but the important, as always say to you, is to immerse ourselves in the language. Now we're going to go over this, but then the best way to apply this in your life is to get immersed in the language. Movies, music, songs, reels, videos, anything, books, okay? So let's dive in here. Adjective clauses identify or describe people or things. Introduce adjective clauses about people with the relative pronouns who or that. So listen, if you're going to become an English teacher, it might be important to go very deep into this and know what it's a noun, a clause, etc. But honestly, when I am teaching English to people who basically want to speak and express themselves well, the important here is more than the technical terms, okay? So we're going to be using who or that. Who means quién. That could be que, more than quién. And these are called relative pronouns, okay? For example, a mariachi singer is someone who or that sings traditional Mexican music. Carnival is a great holiday for people who or that like parades. Families who want to watch the fireworks go to the park. Families that want to watch the fireworks go to the park. So that you can use it anytime. That you can use it for people, for things, for situations. But who, you use it specifically for people. Use that, not who, for adjective clauses that describe things, okay? We are talking about things again, you use only that. For example, Thanksgiving is a celebration that takes place in November. The parade that commemorates Bastille Day is very exciting. So we know that who means quién, and that can be que. When you're talking about describing people, describing holidays of situations, you can use that. For example, families who celebrate the Chinese New Year, families that celebrate Chinese New Year. Women that marched on the International Women's Day, right? We are using it for people and for things as well, okay? Celebrations that take place at the beach, whatever. But when it comes to who, then you can only use it with people, like women who march on the International Women's Day, families who gathered together to celebrate the Chinese New Year. So just be aware that you can use it basically to describe anything, but the word who is basically only with people. It says, Don't use a subject pronoun after the relative pronoun. For example, Thanksgiving is a celebration that it takes place. Yeah, this is important because it is the subject, and we have already mentioned the subject here. For example, I can say Christmas is a celebration that takes place in December. I cannot say Christmas is it's a celebration that it takes place. It's like repeating the subject. I already said Christmas. I don't have to say it. Okay, so you don't repeat the subject after the that because we already said it. Okay, let's check some examples here. Ramadan is a religious tradition that begins on a different day every year. Let's just move this a bit more. Oh, how can I make this already? There it is. Okay, number 2. Chuseok is a Korean seasonal holiday that celebrates the yearly harvest. The woman who designed those amazing costumes for the parade is really talented, the woman, because it's just one. The celebrations that take place in Brazil during Carnival are really wild. People who remember April Fool's Day every April 1st have a lot of fun. The Dragon Boat Festival in China is a holy day that takes place in May or June. So remember April Fool's is el día, here in France they said Le Poisson d'Avril, which is basically the day to make jokes to people. So as you can see, they are using who to talk about people, and that you can use it for people or things, okay? And they are describing celebrations. They are describing something. They're referring to something, right? Let's check this conversation model. Do you mind if I ask you about something? Of course not. What's up? I'm not sure about the costumes here. If someone invites you for dinner, should you bring the host a gift? Yes, it's a good idea, but the gift that you bring should be inexpensive. Would it be appropriate to bring flowers? Definitely. Thanks. That's very helpful. So they're talking about appropriate or inappropriate, right? And here we have more clauses, who, whom, and that. So here they're adding whom. Let's talk about this. This is very interesting because we already know that who is quién, but sometimes how to use whom can create confusion, sorry. Okay, so we have the people are the guests. The people who are the guests should bring the gifts, which is very clear, right? Las personas quienes son los invitados, pues deberían traer regalos. And you can also say the people who you invite should bring gifts. So this is clear. We're talking about people, so that's why we use who. Now, check this out. Let's underline this. When a relative pronoun is an object of a clause, use who, that, or whom for people and that for the things, okay? The relative pronoun is often omitted, especially in speaking. Whom is very formal, okay? That's also that's another thing. Maybe you don't see the word whom as often as who because it's very formal. Let's check the examples. The people who or whom you invite should bring gifts. The people you invite should bring gifts. So, el whom es como a quienes invitaste. The people who you invite. The people who you invite, las personas que invitaste sería. Pero whom ya se viene traduciendo más como a quienes invitaste, ¿sí? And it's more formal. También lo vas a usar con personas, pero se traduce ya no solo como quién, sino a quién, ¿sí? Incluso, sometimes you can hear from whom, como de quién. De quién viene algo. Entonces, this is this can be also this grammar part, this what we're seeing on screen right now can be like too much, but remember that whom is like a quien. So let's just be careful. It says when the relative pronoun is the subject of the clause, it cannot be omitted. Don't say the people are the guests should be in groups. No, 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 no. We have to say it, right? So remember also that whom is very formal. It's for formal English. Let's check this. So there's an error in the adjective clause in each sentence. Let's check. Let's go with the first one. Putting butter on a child's nose is a birthday tradition who people observe on the Atlantic coast of Canada. Only use who for people, and we're talking about tradition, a thing, a birthday, so that. Number 2. On the Day of the Dead, Mexicans remember family members who they have died. What is the mistake here? They are repeating the subject pronoun, right? Who have died. We are already talking about dead. We know. The tomatoes that, number 3, the tomatoes that people throw them at each other during La Tomatina in Buñol, Spain, make a terrible mess. It's the same thing. We already know them. People throw at each other. Again, we don't need to repeat the subject pronoun. We know it's people, right? The tomatoes that people throw at each other during La Tomatina in Buñol, Spain, make a terrible mess. No se tiene que repetir el sujeto, ya sabemos que son ellos, o sea, que entre ellos se tiran los tomates. No hay que volver a poner them. We already know it's, we're talking about tomatoes, okay? We already know it here. The performer sang the traditional holiday song is world famous. The performance sang that traditional holiday song is world famous. That traditional holiday song, world famous. We don't need to write is here. The performer, o sea, la persona que se presentó, cantó la canción tradicional de la festividad que es mundialmente famosa. We don't need to say is. Okay, because we're using that, como esa canción famosa, ¿no? En vez de esa canción que es famosa. That traditional holiday song, world famous. Number 5, the fireworks, people set them off during the summer festivals in Japan are very beautiful. The fireworks, people set them off during the summer festivals are very beautiful. Okay, so here there's something missing, I think. It says, the fireworks, people set them off. We are already talking about fireworks, so we don't need to repeat the subject. Them, we already know. The fireworks people set off during the summer festival in Japan are very beautiful, okay? And of course, we could add here, for example, the fireworks that people set off, the performer sang that traditional song, etc. So you don't have to repeat the subject, and we're going to use that when you're talking about things. And we're going to use who when we're talking about people. I could add the word that here. For example, the tomatoes people, that people. We already have it here, look. That people. Okay. On the Day of the Day, Mexicans remember family members who, you have it here, okay? But you don't need to repeat the subject, okay? So remember that whom is like a quien, okay? A quien, and it's more formal. So let's check this reading about holidays around the world. Ramadan, the month of fasting. Fasting is hacer ayuno. And here where I live, for example, I have a lot of students in my college that celebrate the Ramadan. It's part of the Muslim religion, and it's about fasting. So a lot of the students go to school, they have breakfast very early, and they don't eat until they come back home for dinner. So that's the fasting, it's like a way of thanking the God and everything. It says, may you be well throughout the year. Throughout the year, o sea, durante todo el año. Is the typical greeting during Ramadan? That's the greeting during Ramadan. May you be well throughout the year. The 9th month of the Islamic calendar, a special occasion for over 1 billion Muslims throughout the world, according to Islamic tradition. Ramadan marks the time when Muhammad received the word of God through the Quran. Throughout the month, Muslims fast, totally abstaining from food and drink from the break of dawn until the setting of the sun. It is also a time to increase worship and giving to the poor and the community. Ramadan ends with the festival of Eid al-Fitr, 3 days of family celebrations and eating. This is part of what their parents are healthy. Okay, so this is the Ramadan, and it's very common here because we have a lot of people with this religion. We have the Chinese New Year. The Chinese New Year is celebrated by Chinese around the world and marks the beginning of the first month in the Chinese calendar. The celebration usually takes place in February and lasts for 15 days. Before the holiday begins, families clean out their houses to sweep away bad luck, and they decorate their doors with red paper and big Chinese characters for happiness, wealth, and longevity. The night before, families gather together for a delicious meal. Outside, people set off firecrackers that make loud noises all through the night. In the morning, children wish their parents a healthy and happy new year and received red envelopes with money inside. It is customary for people to give each other small gifts of fruit and sweets to visit older family members in the street. Lion and dragon dancers set off more firecrackers to chase away evil spirits. So here it is. And we also have Simón Bolívar's birthday. Simón Bolívar was born on July 24, 1783 in Caracas, Venezuela. He's known throughout Latin America. Again, we have the word throughout, que puede significar a través de, durante, throughout Latin America, as the liberator, because he led the fight for independence from Spain. His armies freed Venezuela, o sea, liberaron Venezuela, Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. He's memorialized in many ways, o sea, conmemorado, recordado. But 2 countries celebrate his birthday every July 24th, Venezuela and Ecuador. On that day, schools and most general business are closed, and there are military parades, recuerda desfiles, and government ceremonies. But the malls are open, and people usually use the holidays to go shopping. So here we have the description of some traditions and holidays. Remember again, holidays, it's not only about vacation, it can also be about celebration in a country. And here we have some vocabulary of related to a ceremony, which is very general. Okay, I think that's why the book chose this one, because around the world everyone gets married, right? So it's a celebration that is very common for all of us. And we have some vocabulary related to this. We have an engagement, es el compromiso, a marriage ceremony, la ceremonia. A wedding is la boda, ¿sí? And remember that this that says wedding is like especially one with a religious service. And a marriage ceremony is more like a set of actions that formally makes 2 single people become a married couple. Maybe it's not necessarily religious. A reception, pues, esto es la fiesta, ¿no? We don't say a party, we say more a reception in this case. A honeymoon, pues es la luna de miel. Fiancé is the man. Fiancée is the woman. This is more French, I think. Bride, pues ya es la novia. Here's a fiancé, es el que está comprometido, a man who's engaged. And here a fiancée, a woman who's engaged, es la mujer que está comprometida. A bride es la novia and the groom es el novio. Newlyweds, pues obviamente son los recién casados. The bride throws the bouquet after the wedding ceremony. The woman who catches it is believed to be the next to get married. The newlyweds cut the cake together and the wedding reception. And the groom carries the bride across the threshold through the doorway to their new home. Soon after the wedding, they go on their honeymoon. So yeah, we just checked a few words, a few vocabulary words related to this celebration that occurs everywhere. Okay, so remember that here we're describing celebrations, talking about them. And when you are describing things or situations, you often are going to use that. But remember that if you are talking about people, it is common or it's correct to use whom. The word whom is more formal and it's like a quien, okay? So I hope you have enjoyed this very cultural lesson, and remember that I will see you on our next lesson in Unit 8. Have a great day, and thanks so much for watching.